But they're going to have to find something to do differently here in Game 2, Taco, as I believe we are just about ready to move into picks and bans for that game. Nika, with that salmon leap, able to just strip it away. They got to do something different here in Game 2. It looks like it is going to be, though, Mouse, who are going to be the first pick here this time as well. We'll see what they try and prioritize, what they try and take away from SK. Do they let them have the Athena, the X-Balls again?
I think that SK could potentially choose to skip out on the Achilles band that they opted for in the first round and maybe look to take away either the Janus or the Thoth. And since they're not first pick, I do also see them as a probability of leaving everything open, because then they get 2 picks, meanwhile Mouse only gets the 1.
Well, they are going to do the same bans we saw last game in terms of taking away all these healers. The Aphrodite, the Ra, and the Guan Yu all once again removed from the board. And actually, considering everything that's gone on lately, Sustain was not really that big of a factor here in that last game, as opposed to how some of these other sets have gone, as the Achilles gets banned away by SK there in their second slot.
Hard to have Sustain when you ban all the healers from the start.
That's true.
It makes things a little bit less complicated. But Mouse, this is spooky territory already for SK. I'm a bit surprised, actually, to even see SK giving up the Athena.
It's been so strong lately, and not just Athena, not just strong, but Cherryo on the Athena. I mean, I'm not saying it's guaranteed going to him, but he'll play Athena jungle because it's just something he likes to do, not because his team is making him take an Athena and put it somewhere janky. This is the kind of thing he loves to play, so it just fits into Mouse's comp so well.
That's always been one of the primary advantages, though, that Mouse has to offer in their roster alone. Like, compositions aside, it's great when you have multiple members that can flex pick the same gods, because then it gives you a little bit more leeway in terms of being able to respond to your opposition's draft.
That does mean, though, that the Thoth pick has come in for Mousesports, so they're going to try and get another big performance on that, and Serqet to go along with it. So maybe then, and that Serqet's going to be one going into the jungle, though with Mouse, you never really know. You don't want to call that too early, right?
Well, the Terra. I love seeing this Terra pick. I think the Root is going to play a very important role, and the Earthen Fury as well, to help kind of just squash the Thoth, I think, is going to be the whole concept here. And Lawbster, I think he also just wants to maybe throw a couple of those through space and times Cherryo's way.
Yeah, try and maybe get a little bit of revenge here. Now he's the one with some long-range snipes to maybe delete someone else off the map for one, so he can hit one of those big ultimates onto Ting or Tingz or Cherryo. He can try and return the favor from game 1, as the Amir, wow, actually gets respect banned here by SK. They don't want to have to deal with that.
Well, it's the same thing that we were just mentioning, the point of multiple members being able to flex pick gods. I think Amir is just another one of those. And Mouse, these guys they were molded in the double, triple Guardian compositions. I mean, a team with Cherryo, you got to expect at least 2 of those big boys coming out.
Oh, yeah. Athena here, that's just the first one. There's almost certainly going to be another, right, as Amaterasu comes in as the pick for SK. That's going to give him a little bit of extra mobility and great team fighting presence, as Chulainn, the next selection for Mouse. Which, why am I even bothering trying to pretend I know where things are going on the Mouse world? I'm just setting myself up for failure.
Well, at least we got mid jungle and ADC down pretty well.
It looks right. It looks like a normal comp, right? I'm not going to put my name on that, as Artemis does come in, a very strong late game hunter in her own right, and can be very strong with the boar in team fights. We saw it earlier in the previous set.
I like this Mercury pick, though. That's pretty spicy. Could also be part of the reason why SK chose to ban away the Amir as opposed to a different style of warrior or guardian, because of those walls. Yeah. Not going to have to worry about it with Mercury. And looking at the entirety of Mouse's composition, there's nothing to really stand in the way other than the Season 5 map itself for the Mercury.
Well, they're very much going to be relying on this Terra to provide their big control for them, I feel like, in the fights, or just a big ultimate maybe out of this Mercury. When looking at these 2 compositions, do you think we're getting a game 3 here, Taco, or do you think that this is going to be enough for Mouse to close it out?
I think that SK should have already been up a game as is, so this should be where they strike their revenge.
Okay, so SK going to come back and try and get their revenge here in game 2. At least that's what we say here on the desk. Casters, Tom, and Aggro, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Finch. Thanks a lot, Taco. Tom and Aggro here, like he said. And we're heading into game number 2. I love what Taco said. Yeah, I should have just won game 1. So let this be their win. And that's kind of what I'm expecting here.
But at the same time, they just gave up Athena, who has been dominant so far in the summer split, though they did just lose with Athena, I suppose. They gave up BigManTingz' Thoth. They got that again. Serqet has been a pretty solid pick so far for Mousesports. If it goes to Cherryo, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Dardez. I won't predict where it's going. This is going to be a tough game, I think, for SK.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting. Tough, but might be a win. I am definitely rooting for, I always root for the third game, so I guess that's not a big deal. Let us know who you think is going to win in Mixer Chat. Post up and hit the poll button. I don't know, whatever Auburn's doing out there has got to be good. Let's get into game number 2 and see where these teams are going to go. Serqet will be in the jungle. I can say that with confidence.
Get absolutely crushed. You fool. You complete fool. You tried to predict a Mousesports comp. Oh, man. Wait, Tom, before you talk, take this napkin to wipe the egg off your face.
I took my headset off. I almost walked out the room. That was, this is...
It was the confidence. It was the swagger that you said it with. And it was just,
walked real cool.
Oh, yeah. You felt that one, and you were just so embarrassingly wrong. Oh, that was awesome.
Every now and then I like to do an aggro impression, so there it was, folks.
What? I'm waiting for you to do it.
Oh, I was being embarrassingly wrong as being you. Raven Jungle. SK Gaming here. That one hurt a little bit, I'm sorry. SK Gaming with their dual
I was
lane.
wrong about that.
Funball on the Xbalanque was a shining point for them in game number 1. So hopefully that can continue to be the case, but Sprint popped. Funballer already taking a ton of damage. By the way, we have fixed that problem on the bottom of the screen for now, so things will be all right. Jermain here, not so all right. But that Artemis poke. Way back when, years ago, she was considered the queen of poke. Other characters have come by. I think Medusa kind of takes that away, but you still have to be very, very, very cognizant of the fact that Jermain is going to poke the hell out of you with that third ability.
He will, but if you got to kind of position yourself so that you're forcing him to use it for poke and not for clear at the same time. You have to kind of make him make a choice in that situation. And while Serqet Artemis is a scary, scary lane to go up against, just keeping your life intact, it's not that scary in lane push. Neither of these characters clear the wave particularly well. Dardez needs to put himself out of position. In order to do so, use Deathbane to clear the wave. You don't want to do that at any point, even when you do have Guardian's Blessing on Serqet. So if I'm SK, it sucks right now, but you just have to weather this storm. Wait it out a little bit, and then wait until the mid-game where you can be a little bit more effective in your 1v1 trades while still being able to out-clear the opposition.
You know, I was sitting here, and I was looking at that draft, and I wasn't thrilled about it from Mouse. Because I was like, you know what? I don't know how much I trust Cherryo's Serqet. It's very different for him this and a third. And I said to myself, listen, if he does wind up with the Athena, I'd be a lot happier. And we've had our jokes here, and tank Serqet is a whole different conversation. But I'm actually very happy that Cherryo's on the Athena. I think this is a must. This is very weird for me to say, Ryan, but Cherryo on the Athena and Dardez on the Serqet, I think, is the better composition for Mousesports.
Sure.
For this specific team and players. In no other world do I say that, but I think this works better for Mouse.
You're probably right. You're probably right. For these particular players, I think that could be a fair argument. However, I still think I'd rather... I still believe that both can play each god at a proficient level, and for whatever reason, whether it's actually rooted in fact or not, Mousesports has looked better via the eye test whenever they play Guardians in the support role. Dardez has looked really strong when he's playing Guardians in the support role.
I don't know if I completely agree with that.
I think that they looked infinite. Think back to Spring Split, where they find their week 1 victory over SK. Hold that thought. We'll get back into it in a minute. Big damage onto Faeles. Uses the beads, but it's not going to matter. Jermain falls for first blood. Nice well-timed gank there by Faeles that chased out the beads and got the kill regardless.
Stuff. Really like that play.
So think back to Spring Split. Mouse gets a week 1 victory over SK. And then they kind of flounder for a while and kind of get blown out by a lot of different teams. And Dardez is playing everything under the sun. Agni's support, a little bit of the Nox.
Not my favorite.
Here and there. The Serqet support he pulled out. There were the Robin support. There was a lot of stuff, not a lot of Guardians in that support role. Then towards the second half of the Spring Split, Dardez started playing Fafnir, God forbid, some Guardians here and there.
But
and Mousesports looked a lot better.
Can't you make the argument that that's just strength of schedule?
No, because you play the same teams over again.
Sure.
And they got to play the same teams, and I think they looked better the majority of the games where they ended up with a Guardian in the support role. Now, there are a lot of other factors, you know. Maybe Jermain had his lucky meal that day before the game, and so he played better.
What actually showed up.
Whatever it was. They ended up having better performances more often than not, in my mind, whenever Dardez was on the support. So, on the Guardians, I should say.
Right.
So, do I immediately say he should only play Guardians? Of course not. That doesn't fit Dardez's style. That doesn't fit Mousesports' style. They'll never be happy, and they'll never do that well overall. They'd much rather play their own style as they should. But at the same time, is there some argument to, if you get Athena, it doesn't have to go to Cherryo every time? Probably.
Yes. Yeah. Man. It's always fun casting mouse with you.
Why's that?
Cherryo going to use the ult. Probably going to be out of here. No concern there whatsoever. Hey, got the red buff. Good for him.
Buff secured.
Exactly how they drew it up, right?
Every time. Cost Cherryo is blink there to try and blink into that camp and his ultimate, but Funball also used his ultimate in that exchange. Looks like HalfDevil used Earth and Fury as well. Not sure when that... Or no, he's only level 4, so doesn't have it because he doesn't have it.
Well, Lawbster going to file the ultimate right in the middle. Here comes Faeles, a little bit too short.
Oh,
and he can't get the kill either. If he hits him with the ultimate, clearly BigManTingz is dead. Faeles comes up short. Ouch.
You don't want to overshoot that ultimate, though. It's just one auto does it there. If you just use one auto attack to punch, then toss, or toss, then punch, then made you look, you're guaranteeing a 1-for-1, but you probably are anyways by using special delivery underneath that tower regardless. That's a tough kill to drop there from Faeles.
Absolutely a drop kill. That just can't happen. That really just can't happen. I do think that this Mercury pick will be positive. Ducky popped the sprint to try and get away, and he'll find the ultimate as well. Nice timing on the ult to avoid the crowd control from Dardez. Talaria boots will be the choice here for Dardez. I think this is a... you're not going attack speed. You're not going power when you're here. You're looking for tank boots or you're looking for speed boots. Not too many dot effects on the side of SK Gaming to really get the nice juicy protections out of those tank boots. And Dardez, like one of the reasons that we see Serqet in the support role is the fact that she's not power based. She doesn't really need that. So you can go the Talaria boots. And ain't nobody ever complained about mobility on a support.
No, I think that's a strong call. You're right. Not a lot of dots to incentivize the reinforced Greaves. HalfDevil taunts it in. Ultimate was available there for Dardez, but decides not to use it for the moment. Cherryo dashes too far forward. Immediately that Darkest of Nights comes out. Cherryo will never get off the ground. Ducky gets the kill.
Bad move there from Cherryo. If he hits the dash, he doesn't go that far deep. Just misses. The problem is that's a devastating ability to miss. Dardez blinks forward, gets the beads out of Lawbster. Nice shot from BigManTingz. Though none of the follow-up damage because of the crowd control immunity. Nice job from Big Man Lob.
This is where you want to try and punish this Serqet support before Dardez can start to become tanky. Now the problem with trying to punish it at this point in the game is that his damage is still extremely relevant. There's not a big difference between Jungle Serqet at level 7 and Guardian Serqet at level 7. You lose the Assassin's Blessing, so you lose 10 penetration. And he went for the Talaria boots, though some Serqet players may decide to go for that in the jungle anyways. So you're losing a bit of power, but in a little bit of pen. But that doesn't really impact the overall kit from Serqet at this point in the game. But he's also not very tanky at this point in the game. So if I'm on SK, I think I'm trying to use my Mercury ult combo onto Serqet every single time before you can get any sort of tankiness online, because you know as soon as you deliver that Serqet via special delivery, you've got a lot of guaranteed damage.
I mean, basically, let's start at the ultimate, and you can see that there is just true damage. There's not even any scaling, so no power whatsoever. And then the passive, which we can't even show you, but it's percent damage as well, so not really any power. Second ability is crowd control. Faeles wishes he had some of that right now. As Cherryo comes down, dash forward to Nika. Can't find the root. And Ducky going to be able to keep his jungler safe and sound. Nice job from Ducky right there. Faeles biting off a little bit more than he could chew, and he's out.
Nika has that kill if he just lands the hammer fist in that spot, but movement speed for Mercury, it has plenty of it, has some points in his 2 as well to give himself some extra movement speed as he's running around, so that this fastest god alive escapes by just a bit.
Dardez heading back in the jungle. The one does suffer when you build tanky for Dardez, the death pain, but I think my answer there is who cares?
Still has Prot Shred on it, so
huge deal actually. Very glad you brought that up.
Still has Prot Shred, so it's going to be pretty important overall, 10% for 3 seconds. So that's, it doesn't sound like that long, but these players at this level can make it work in 3 seconds for sure.
Lawbster fires point blank into Cherryo's brainstem. Still can't find the last hit. Faeles, collapses, and gets credit for the kill after big damage from everybody else. Dardez on the run, the left side. BigManTingz on the run, right side. Will dash through the window, and he'll be safe. He's got the finger ready. Can stun. But SK Gaming more interested in the invade, and rightfully so.
This is a playstyle thing from Cherryo that we've seen in the past where, specifically on Guardians, because that's mostly what he plays anyways, he will find himself in bad positions time after time after time. And a lot of instances, teams kind of over-respect Cherryo in those spots, I think. They don't punish him as hard as they should be able to because they assume, well, everyone must be coming. And that's not always the case for the positioning from Cherryo. I love SK's dedication. Cherryo's trying to invade these XP camps on the right-hand side twice now, or 3 times in total, near it. And 2 times he's died, 1 time he had to ult away. Cherryo has got to understand that he's lost that opportunity now. Those XP Harpies are no longer open for business.
Right.
Those are Faeles', and you got to give those up for the time being. Only if you see Faeles on the left side of the map can you really try and secure those as a steal away.
I do like the itemization at the very least from Cherryo. I haven't been a fan of the gameplay just yet. 0, 2, and 1. And only 2 deaths, but I think he's been in a couple of more precarious situations than he should be. But the second item here is a really nice look. It's going to allow Cherryo to exert the damage that he wants to without really investing in a full damage item. Stone of Binding is also going to help his teammates as well. I think this is one of the go-to options here for Cherryo.
And it's only 1,700 gold. The best selling point right there is how cheap it is. This tier 2 item does boost his damage and the damage of BigManTingz pretty nicely.
Ooh, HalfDevil. Cut down relatively low. No long range abilities left though. BigManTingz ultimate on cooldown, and this time Jermain not on the ROM. Cherryo not on the Janus. So not the same result there. Lawbster able to walk on through the wall. Faeles here. Cherryo one more time tries the invade. This time Cherryo's got help. Through the wall. BigManTingz with the BigManTingz. Cherryo on Lawbster on the back line, but wow, I'm just still impressed with BigManTingz.
Lawbster doesn't use the beads until very late in that CC chain. That guarantees the last breath will get the kill, or at least set him up for death in that spot. Lawbster, once the blink comes out from Cherryo, blink taunt, you got to know that that's got to be a beads right away. And I was just saying, I don't want to see Cherryo invade anymore on those XP Harpies. Well, I guess I'm wrong there. But SK don't dedicate themselves. But the last few rotations, HalfDevil's been there, and Ducky has been there on the XP Harpies to make sure that Cherryo doesn't get them. Ducky that time stayed in lane, and HalfDevil got poked out right before that engagement because of the ultimate from BigManTingz on top left side. So he's not going to be there either. That makes that invade much safer for Cherryo. And we on display there is one of the main weaknesses of Mercury, probably the main weakness of Mercury, in that when you're trying to toss someone with special delivery, you're a sitting duck. I was just saying that pro players can make use of a 3-second prot shred. How about standing still for 1.5 seconds or however long that channel time is? That's free smoke for BigManTingz.
That's actually one of the reasons that we don't see Mercury a lot at the high level. Recently, he's been coming a little bit back more and more, but one of the big Achilles heels of the character is that fact that special delivery wraps you up along with your opponent. It can be really problematic. One of the issues I think that Khepri also has at a high level, when he goes for the abduct, he also puts himself in a bad spot. So very similar downsides to those characters.
But, I mean, special delivery is a phenomenal setup tool. One of the best in the entire game.
Specifically right now, it's fantastic.
You can use it in a 1v1 or sometimes even in a 2v1 very safely and get a ton of value out of it. You're guaranteeing a portal from Lawbster, a double hit from Unstable Vortex, all the poison darts from Funballer. There's a million different things that you can use to set up with Mercury. Just tough to do so in a team fight.
Dashing forward on a BigManTingz. Lawbster doing a ton of damage. BMT finds the Aegis, and so he'll be all right for now. Janus ultimate coming through. Lawbster won't really find anybody. But Ducky made the rotation from the right-hand side. Gets taunted by Cherryo, but that be that.
Love that play from Lawbster. He's getting jumped on. Has to use the ultimate to give himself CC immunity in response to Dardez's ultimate. But he doesn't use it to get away necessarily, at least the conventional way that you would think. Instead, he uses it to continue to follow the call to try and kill BigManTingz, and it simultaneously gives him an escape route into the enemy jungle. Great focus from Lawbster. It was just the Aegis from BigManTingz was good enough to save his life.
Dardez looked like he missed the Deathbane there. That can't be good. Did you see that?
Either way, I mean, he's got a sovereignty. How much damage is Deathbane really doing at this point in the game?
My point being the prot shred that we were talking about. Like, you have to hit that. I mean, maybe I was just off.
I mean, he was near BigManTingz only. It's only physical protections that you're shredding, so
fair. All right, that's fair.
Not really relevant until Nika or Jermain is around.
Yeah, very, 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 very true. 15.5 on the clock here, 3 all, and barely tied in gold and experience. 1,600 XP in Way of Mouse, less than 1,000 gold in Way of Mouse, neither of which I think are really much to hang your hat on. So, tie game here for all intents and purposes.
If this were game 1 of this set, I think I'd be worried about Mousesports' comp because of the lack of late game damage. Now, Thoth and Artemis are great late game damage dealers, but by going Athena jungle and Serqet support, you're committing yourself to having only 2 damage dealers in the late game. Blink forward and finds 2 sets of beads there from Cherryo.
Big move.
That's the dream scenario, but looks like SK doesn't want to give it up for free necessarily. Funball used the ultimate just in case Faeles wanted to reinitiate, or Mousesports is going to try and keep the engagement going, but neither really happened. What I was saying is that normally I'd be worried, but with how well BigManTingz played in game 1 on this Thoth, I don't know that you need more than 2 primary damage dealers in the late game. I think Mousesports is going to be just fine.
Gold Fury here is going to be interrupted by Faeles on the back line. Going to be stunned out by the Artemis and taken down by the mid lane Thoth one more time. Right side, there goes the jump from the Serqet. Is support, so not a ton of damage. Ducky's got it though. Down goes Jermain. Funball on the run. Nika going to be silenced. Ducky trying to protect his hunter. Here comes the mid lane mage, though. Aegis is good. Meanwhile, on the back end, Lawbster getting taunted. And to respond by cutting down Cherryo. 2 dead for SK, 2 dead for Mouse. Dashing forward. BigManTingz destroyed by Ducky. It's a big play, but he traded his life out for it.
Oh, maybe not. No, Nika will find that kill, but Lawbster and HalfDevil tried to come in and support. That might have been a mistake for Lawbster. HalfDevil takes Lawbster's portal and leaves him for dead. A double kill there for Mousesports. Overall, a 4 for 3 in Mousesports' favor. And for me, that only goes in Mousesports' favor because of where that fight took place, on Mousesports' side of the map. If that's all the way near SK's side, then Ducky doesn't need to dive a tier 2 tower to guarantee the kill on the BigManTingz. Not as much dive needs to happen away from safety for SK. The fact that just the positioning of that team fight inherently gives Mousesports an advantage.
That's not something that SK want to do, obviously, right? In context, though, it's the response from game number 1 is the reason why I say that. Is game number 1, SK, I mentioned it a couple of times, they were playing with fervor, they were energized, they were up front. HalfDevil was making plays, Faeles was looking good. I see old SK right now. I see a team that's sitting on their hands. They're not doing much of anything, Ryan, and that's going to be a problem.
Left-hand side, Funball has to get away, has to use the ultimate to give himself an escape route because Jermain was playing ambush there with the ultimate. Oh, Faeles going to come in and use an ultimate of his own, but now he's in the middle of everyone.
And he gets hit by the ultimate, hit by the ultimate, hit by the ultimate, Jermain!
I just saw that happen. Is it complete deja vu?
Dardez finds the last hit onto Lawbster, and Mousesports are starting to run away with this. Gold Fury going their direction. SK Gaming going to look towards the Pyro. But Mouse will be one step ahead and disallow that. Nika's presence here alone is good.
That was just great relic bait. Mousesports is so good as a team with the composition they've drafted at punishing members of the opposition that don't have beads available. You cannot be, just think of it this way. Do you really want to be anywhere near Athena without beads? No. You don't want to be anywhere near Serqet without beads. You don't want to be anywhere near Artemis without beads. And all 3 of them are on the same damn team. So you don't have a choice but to be near at least one of those characters. Jermain started it off by trapping Funball on the top side. That forced SK into a weird spot. But again, Faeles ulting in. He did the same thing on the last Gold Fury engagement where he goes in where no one else is even close to being able to follow up. And he did both of those ultimates without having purification beads. And Jermain just goes, Are you sure? Is that cool with you that you just get stunned by Artemis ult now, or trapped after a Serqet ultimate, or trapped after a Cherryo taunt? Just the synergy just isn't there right now from SK.
Faeles has not looked strong on these carry-esque junglers. I want to see more of the... I don't know if Faeles goes all the way to the Guardian world, but I liked him on Hunbats in the spring.
Hunbats and Naja, I think, are solid Faeles gods. I don't know. I can see him performing very well with Mercury, because Mercury has potential to be a setup god with his kit. Now, you can set up with your ultimate, you can set up with your 3, and then use your teammates in the early game to then be the dude in the late game. But how different is that from Hunbats? Hunbats can be the dude soloing a carry or soloing a mid laner in the late game with his ultimate once he gets all 6 items. Naja can do the same sort of thing. I think Mercury in the early game is largely a setup character. It's just been the setup he's been setting up for himself, and that gets you killed oftentimes.
Dardez. Nice setup there. Taking down HalfDevil. Last hit goes to Nika. 4-0-1 for the solo laner. SK Gaming. Night and day. For real. I don't know what happened between game 1 and game 2, but something did. Ducky is going to get happened right here. Just 10%, yeah, 5%. We'll see you later.
Just one by one, the ants go marching in, and SK is just stomping on them every time. It's easy when you've got this much CC, and you only have to worry about hitting one character with it.
I don't understand. What is the biggest difference between game number 1 and game number 2?
Game 1, they hadn't just lost a game. They felt like they should have won.
You really think that's it? I mean, you're the player. Do you really think that's it?
Oh, hold on that thought. Dardez will find Lawbster, but Lawbster kills Jermain because he hit him with the through space and time. HalfDevil is getting in here, and Fire Giant goes the way of Mousesports. Really, really close there, but good secure by BigManTingz. Yeah, I do think that SK, we've talked about it in game 1, they have a tendency to lose their mental focus after tough moments, after tough games, and it feels like that to me.
Oh, that's so rough because they looked clean. They really looked nice in game number 1. Not taking anything away from Mousesports, who have had a fantastic game number 2 here. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that something is clearly missing from game number 1 and game number 2. Game number 2 here, SK Gaming looked like they did in the spring split, and that is not a compliment. But game number 1, SK Gaming looked like their new support player, HalfDevil, might have turned things around. Now, obviously, you don't look at this roster and say, HalfDevil, it's your job to make everything great. This isn't all on one individual. But, you know, you are expecting this person to come in and change the atmosphere and the players around this player to change them. And I saw that game 1. And I'm not seeing that game 2. And for SK Gaming to be successful down the road, we have to see that difference.
Agreed there. It still takes time to have a whole culture change.
Absolutely. And the only reason that I actually bring that up in game number 1 of the summer split is because they looked much better in the first game.
Right. Of this set, and still falling into some old habits. But yeah. I think more credit really goes to Mousesports because they forced SK into bad spots in game 1.
Very true.
Gave themselves opportunities to come back in that game. And how about Dardez, man? 2-0-10. Been a part of 12 of Mousesports' 13 kills on the Serqet support. Level 17, man. He's the same level as he's almost the same level as Lawbster.
Here comes the initiation from SK, trying to keep Mouse off their front step. Jermain in trouble, drops the ultimate. Ducky drops him in turn. There's Lawbster cut through the entirety of the team fight. Dardez could be in trouble. Cherryo finds the taunt. Faeles trying to find something, but it's Ducky that gets the kills. BigManTingz gets put down, and it's 2 players down in Mouse jerseys. Make that 3 as Funballer adds another tick to his kill column. They changed the passive. 2-1-4 for Funballer.
That was the most teamwork we've seen from SK in this game. And what do you know? They 3-man wipe a team with Fire Giant that was ahead by 7,000 gold and 7,000 experience, 10,000 experience. You can see it from SK. Ducky goes in first, baits out a lot of relics, does a lot of damage at the same time, as does Funball. But where's Lawbster? Nowhere where he can get initiated on. Uses the snipe, creates confusion. At the same time the snipe comes through, Faeles comes screaming through the middle of the team fight and creates even more disruption,
Yep.
all focused on BigManTingz. The call was uniform, and SK followed it. That's what you expect from a team that has been around this long with players that are this experienced at this level, and they can compete when they look like that.
Mousesports still in the lead. SK Gaming did make a big swing there. Not only taking 3 players, but getting the Gold Fury as well, puts them 4,000 gold down, which is totally manageable at this point in the game. It's still not ideal, but it's manageable, and it puts them in a position where they can sit there and stretch this game out to a stalemate, or where everything is even. Down 8,000 gold, you don't really have the luxury of waiting 10 minutes. You're just going to be overtaken. Very important team fight right there from SK. I want to continue talking about game number 1, though, because I just love that from Mousesports. Oddball selection, right? That was a punishment. Lawbster is not the #1 mid laner in the world anymore, but he's known for his positioning. And Mousesports specifically drafted odd composition, sure, but the thing that it had in common was so much long-range ability. The jungle, the mid, and the hunter all had the ability to punish Lawbster even if he wasn't out of position. Yep. And that's something that he does very well. We see him do that with the Janus on the left side. So Mousesports crafted that composition specifically to punish SK as a team, as individual players, and I liked that move. Looking towards this draft from Mousesports, this seems less directed externally and more directed internally. Whether or not that's a problem is yet to be seen.
And there could be a problem with the itemization that Mousesports was going for, because they were up by so much. They'd won so many team fights in a row that they started to go a little bit more offensive with their builds. Check out the Jotun's Wrath for Dardez. Yep. Check out the Sunder, there, for Cherryo in the jungle. Now, we saw a little bit of this from Athena players in the past. This is going to help out with your overall damage. You just Athena taunt straight into the Sunder, and it does a lot for whoever you're going to hit. That means HalfDevil and Ducky are a lot less tanky to the damage dealers of Mousesports.
Right.
But at the same time, no shells available for Mousesports.
Well, Ducky going to be initiating and just deleted.
Cool. That was the same problem we saw before.
Individuals, now 4 players looking for a team fight. I see big numbers, 500, 400, and it's all on BigManTingz. HalfDevil, the Terra, gets the double kill, and SK Gaming somehow salvage this slop of a team fight.
Faeles does so much work there. He just obliterated BigManTingz nearly by himself. As
DB.
Nika trying to get away from Funball and Lawbster, the 2 longtime teammates, going to be able to clean this one up nicely. All of a sudden, it's a 14-13 game, and SK look likely to get a Fire Giant. In this build from Faeles, I was not a fan of. Really, I mean, he's got no pen against a Guardian jungle, against a tanky Serqet, against a Chulainn solo. But Faeles has just said, okay, that's fine. I'm just not going to hit any of those characters. He has only hit BigManTingz and Jermain. And I say it all the time. You build for who you hit. And there aren't many instances where you get to choose to only hit backliners. Mercury's one of the characters that can choose to only hit backliners. And Faeles done a really good job understanding that he's just not going to be effective against 3 out of Mousesports' 5 characters, but he can decimate the 2 that he can actually hurt.
He can also decimate the Fire Giant as well. I mean, look at the damage being put onto this. SK instead going to turn around, isolate Cherryo, put Dardez into the Vice. And here comes the damage. Look at those big crits. I mean, that's what they can't do it. That's what they can't do. Mousesports again. Oh my goodness gracious. They are getting robbed every time they go to the store. I can't handle this right now, Aggro. I can't handle this right now. Mousesports are out of control and they're just robbing everybody.
You just have to be aware of the respawn timers, how long it's going to take BigManTingz to get towards the Fire Giant. Why is HalfDevil on the Fire Giant at all? Normally it's a solo laner's job to zone, but as an Amaterasu, you would increase the damage from everyone on your team on that objective by a ton, so it's acceptable, in my mind, for Ducky to be there. HalfDevil's got to try and zone him out. Now, why is Jermain there? That's a better question.
That's been the problem, and I was about to mention that. Jermain on the left side, when Mousesports gets wiped out by the Phoenix, Jermain is the target. Yes, Mercury can dive the backline, but Jermain was in front of 3 players. There's 5 players on the team. That means he's number 2. It's not why you stand as a hunter, even if you're an Artemis. Second time we see the team fight go SK Gaming's way. Again, Jermain less out of position, but still ripe to be hit by the Mercury. You got to be aware of those channels that Mercury can ult down, and Jermain was just chilling in one of them, and Faeles found him after the fact. This is what SK Gaming are doing to adapt into this late game. They're identifying that Jermain is a sitting duck. They're isolating him, they're focusing him, and they're killing him. And that's allowing them to fight back and claw their way into this game, tied up at a half hour.
Faeles and HalfDevil going to try and secure an objective alongside Funball, and secured.
Are you sure?
Yep, they got it. SK get their second Gold Fury of the game. Now, this is pretty much even, though. Mousesports has the enhanced Fire Giant that was ripped away by BigManTingz.
I don't think you understand how hot I was about that.
I would not buy a lottery ticket if I were on SK.
No.
Not today.
Oh, man.
Though, there is some argument where you're having so much bad luck that maybe a little bit of good luck is what the universe will throw your way to balance it out.
That sounds like somebody that's
And that's how
having
you
bad
missed
luck.
27 threes in a row.
So, yeah, the Houston Rockets are going to be rich tomorrow. They're going to be
They're
rich
already
no matter
they were
what.
rich yesterday, too. Come on.
Yeah, sure. Mouse and SK here. Not quite the headline matchup that the Cavaliers and the Warriors will have in the NBA Finals, but still bring a ton of entertainment for two teams that I think have definitely improved a little bit from their spring split. And honestly, when I watch teams like that, Ryan, that's all I want. I want to see consistent and constant improvement because I don't expect these guys to be number one. I apologize to all 10 players. But with that said, I have seen the improvement, and that excites me nonetheless.
Ducky's looked really, really good in this game. He's been a standout for me.
Yep.
I think Lawbster has had a really solid game. Funball, again, with a beautiful KDA on the Xbalanque, and again near the top of the damage charts, just like he was in Game 1. SK looked bad at the beginning of this game and have since turned it around nicely. And that is almost more impressive to me than them playing well from the get-go.
Yes, I will have to agree because of what we discussed about these guys kind of getting in their head.
Yeah.
These guys are known for that. They have a track record of that. And seeing the bounce back it's one thing to work on your mechanics, but to work on the mental side of your game is also very important. SK don't have a coach, to my knowledge. I know they were looking last week. I'm not sure if they found one in that interim. But that's really where a coach can help out, is tackling those mental issues and getting over that sort of thing. So whether or not SK have found a coach in the interim in the week or so that they were looking, I'm not sure, but we can certainly see a step in that direction as far as their play is concerned.
Lawbster is just getting tons of free farm right now as Mousesports just kind of stalemated on the right side of the map, trying to siege a tier 2 with Fire Giant buff running out. Lawbster got red buff, a wave in mid, a wave in duo. It stole away the red buff from Mousesports. That's plenty of free farm, and that allows Lawbster to finish off his build with an Ethereal Staff and Soul Gem.
The beginning of the season, we saw flavor of the month. Soul Gem, every character. Nuwa came into the meta partially because of the map corridors and partially because of Soul Gem. It has been nerfed. It has been touched a little bit. Still picked up occasionally. Lawbster grabs it here. Why, and do you like it?
I love it on Janus. I don't love it on just about every other character. So maybe Raijin, maybe Thoth, gods that can stack it very quickly and very easily. Remember, Lawbster is getting Soul Gem procs from
Threshold,
from Portal, from everything. And you only have one damage ability anyways on Janus, so you're using your burst on the right ability every time. You're not going to be getting it on a weird, just sort of poke damage sort of thing that you weren't really expecting to use your Soul Gem proc on. Janus, you know where your burst is going every time, and that's important.
Fire Giant started by SK, but they're clearly just looking for the fight. Ducky gets hit by some of the procs and a BigManTingz. And again, Ducky by himself, but it do not matter. Funball from the left, Faeles from the right. SK Gaming looking to turn this one around. Danny Phantom picks up one. Kieran with the doubleoon. Faeles is in trouble, hanging on by a thread, but the rest of his team is threading Cherryo right through everything. HalfDevil here trying to provide the control, and Funball with the delayed triple kill. SK Gaming get the near team wipe and are going to look for the Phoenix.
I think they can look for the Titan here, Tom. I mean, you've got a little bit of healing with the Terra. That's all Faeles really needs. You've got 5 members, all healthy enough. It's only one tanky Serqet standing in your way.
Problem is, Faeles needs to stay alive because he's a big part of the damage, the structure damage that'll come if the Phoenix and the Titan fall. Faeles leading the charge, 40% HP, and Dardez can cut him down. Into the Titan room comes SK Gaming. Half HP, and ladies, that's it. We're going to a game 3.
Ducky goes in and absorbs every cooldown, but it's not just about cooldowns. It's often so important. We're talking about, oh, we got this ult, this cooldown, that cooldown. How about just where the eyes of Mousesports are? Everyone is focused on Ducky. No one's checking Funball, just crushing Nika, crushing the entire team. Then Faeles redirects their attention with that Sonic Boom. Really, really well played. Ducky understanding how much damage he could take. He stayed alive in the middle of that. I don't know that they could end without his damage, without his aura. Well played by Ducky. Funball and Lawbster both had great games. And man, Faeles in the late game, Faeles in the early game, atrocious. Horrible decision-making, played it poorly. For as bad as it was in the early game, it was that great in the later stages. BigManTingz never got to play in the late game because Faeles is all over him.
Kind of Mercury, though, right?
That's how you play it. Yeah, that's by design.
Who's MVP? Let us know, Mixer Chat. That last team fight, it's very interesting. Like, when you're watching traditional sports, we were talking about basketball earlier, there's a ball. There's always a spot where your eyes are supposed to be directed to.
Right.
In the middle of a team fight, there is no ball carrier. There is no guy that you have to look at. So tossing the eyes around, that was such a huge point. I think we can only get that from an ex-pro player. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
If you find an ex-pro player, let me know. Back to the desk to break down game 2.
Tom, I'm right.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Aggro, for bringing us the cast on that game and unnecessarily roasting Ryan towards the end of that. Finch and Taco here to break down what happened for you yet again. It feels like Mouse gets off to a good start, but this time, though, SK were actually able to close the game out. So it's going to be 1-1 between these two squads.
I think these two teams are playing a little game of hot potato, pretty much, where they're tossing it back and forth. But this time around, it was, in fact, SK who managed to pick it up and then make sure to never drop it after that. I think that was very sound team fighting, and a lot of that was based around Ducky. I do think that heavy distraction factor that he was able to play is a large part of the reason why Faeles was able to bring himself back into this game and able to start actually focusing out BigManTingz.
And you really saw that, I think, on full display in that big fight they had around their Phoenix. I think that was around like the 23-minute mark, or somewhere around there, where it's actually Mouse who are so far ahead. They're pushing into the Phoenix, like 6-7K gold up. Ducky comes in, big ultimate from Faeles, hits the whole team fight, and then waiting patiently as Lawbster with the big ultimate. They stacked everything so well and got that whole team fight to turn around in their favor. And from then on, it felt like SK were in the driver's seat.
And that's kind of just other way around when you flip it. It's just SK's draft kind of relied on being able to combine their ultimates together. There isn't a whole lot of it's not a very forgiving draft, pretty much, because when you're opting for the Janus, and it's not steady, consistent damage over time. It's kind of just all in, boom, and then have to get out. And I don't think that SK were able to accomplish that early on, but they certainly managed to find their footing in the later game.
And a big part of that was Ducky for them, who is going to be the MVP as selected by you in Mixer Chat. So thank you for voting. And I think this was probably the right call. The dazzling offensive was so strong. He was able to force out relics so many times that the rest of his team, like Faeles, like Funballer, were free to do a bunch of damage.
And I love seeing Ducky maneuver this well on the Amaterasu. I think that she's been a little bit overlooked here in Season 5, but she clearly still has a lot of potential to provide in these team compositions. I love the heavy mobility focus that SK really looked for here, and I think that was also another contributing factor to why Mouse had such a difficult time re-establishing the map pressure, because it's just so hard to lock down everyone from SK at once because of their heavy ability to move around the map so freely.
And that's what we saw was the tail end on that last clip of that fight, where that mobility was coming in big for them. The dazzling offensive was kind of what set off that whole fight on that dual lane side, and SK Gaming got a big lead for them. And that's too bad, because I mean, Nika and BigManTingz for Mousesports had such a good start to the game. They were going in, and then Mouse gets the fire giant around 22 minutes into the game, and you're like, well, here it is. Mouse gets the 2-0. Not going to be the case. SK stuck in this one, and we're able to turn it around.
Well, Mouse did go out on a limb there, though, trying to throw Dardez into the support role with the Serqet, and that can be a little bit awkward, because it's great when you have the lead, and then you're able to actually utilize the Serqet to her fullest potential. She's able to absorb a lot of damage, can kind of just chill out if she needs to, and pretty much just leaving that air of random appeal because you're never really certain when she's going to actually try and engage or just to look for the pickup kill.
Well, when you have a game that good for Mousesports, well, then what do they try and do after that? I mean, even Dardez, at one point he was 2-0-12 on a Serqet support. I mean, is it picks where Mouse has to try and do something better, or is it you can't lose that one team fight?
It's just hard to keep track of BigManTingz. I think it was a lot of control from SK due to their heavy mobility, and being able to chase down a team so easily is always going to make things incredibly difficult for Mouse in terms of just trying to keep track of their own carries.
Well, I think